How am I doing? How am I performing? It really is all about him. On the outside, Bill would look great, but in reality, he's profoundly sick. And his wife would begin to pick up on that, if she is at all healthy. In fact, Bill is, for all of his appearances, and actually because of his appearances, he's actually much farther from being a good husband than the guy next door who isn't particularly good at being a husband, but he does genuinely love his wife. His behavior and his words are simply a cloak for how far he is from actually being a good husband, because a good husband loves. And over time, I think Bill's wife would begin to want a husband like the guy next door. I'd rather have the husband who leaves his dirty underwear around once in a while and who sometimes isn't all that considerate and does it perfect, doesn't do things perfectly and flatulates in bed. I'd rather have the imperfect husband who genuinely loves me than this perfect scripted play actor that I have here. Religion is kind of like that. Religion, I submit to you, is a form of sociopathology toward God. And here's how it comes about. We are a fallen race of people, and in this fallen condition, all of us are to some degree sociopathological towards God. We have a sociopathology. We don't naturally experience on the inside love for God. We don't experience love coming from God. We don't naturally overflow with love towards other people. We're in a fallen state. But all people do have, as part of our being made in the image of God, an awareness of God on some level, a vague sense of transcendence, that God or the gods are out there. And we have a sense that we're not right with God. Everybody does. We're out of sync with whatever is transcendent. And that creates a sense of fear and a sense of dread. So what happens is somebody comes along and finds a way to get rid of the fear. Somehow, some way, they hit upon this idea that if I just believe certain things, and if I just engage in certain behaviors, well, then we'll get the gods to like us. The gods won't be mad at us anymore. If we just get the gods to like us, there's this $10 million prize we'll get, and we'll avoid being thrown into prison. Whatever the beliefs are or whatever the behaviors are depends on the religion. In fact, whatever the $10 million is depends on the religion. In some religions, the reward is a good afterlife. In other religions, the reward is a better reincarnation. In some religions, the more primitive religions, it's just getting a good crop this year. In others, it's just not getting zapped with another tidal wave or an earthquake. We've got to keep the gods happy. And so people come to the conclusion that if we just believe these things and do these things, we'll keep the gods happy, and they won't be punishing us, and they'll do whatever it takes, offering up their firstborn child if necessary. And a lot of religions have done that to placate the God's wrath and to try to get some favor on the part of the gods. And then religion is born. Now, since religionists are focused on the rightness of their beliefs and their behavior, they become expert judges at other people's beliefs and behavior. They get life from contrasting themselves with those who have wrong beliefs and wrong behaviors, because it reconfirms that they're special people before God or the gods. Some religionists would even go on campaigns about this, trying to pass laws to control other people's sinful behavior. It's always other people's sinful behavior they go at, not their own sinful behavior, because they're just very sure that their sins are minor and other people's sins are major. But in the name of the gods or their God, they go after this and try to control other people's behavior. And those who are healthy look at that from the outside and they go, that is sick. First of all, it's hypocritical because you guys aren't better than we are, but it's also sick because passing laws doesn't make someone love God, and if they do love God, they don't need the laws. But to the religionists, everything's about behavior, and so you've got to control the behavior. You fix the world by fixing behavior. Religionists may look, according to some criteria, good on the outside. But if you hang around with religionists very long, you get the sense, like Bill's wife would have got, that there's something wrong here. There's something missing here. It feels too scripted. It feels too predictable. It doesn't feel authentic. There's not enough humanness and fallibility here. There's a lack of spontaneity and playfulness and carefreeness. There's a lack of life. Yeah, on some level it looks good. In fact, it looks too good. There's a lack of life that's going on here. And some of us who have been in the religious system and have kind of grown out of it, as you begin to get healthy, you begin to discover that it really isn't about God at all. They use God language all the time, and they'll say it's about God, it's about God, it's about God. But at the core of everything in religion It's really about us. We're trying to save our butts. We're trying to get the $10 million prize. We're trying to avoid being thrown into prison. Religion is really profoundly self-centered. It's narcissism on steroids with an eternal vengeance to boot. And that is why religion can often be bizarre and cruel. Look, if part of my pleasing the gods and part of my being saved is I go by these rules, and one of the rules is we don't heal people on the Sabbath, then if you heal someone on the Sabbath, I don't care if she got free from Satan himself, I got to crack down on you because my neck's on the line. You broke one of my rules. And I don't care if there's a bunch of Muslims getting healed and getting saved. You're breaking one of our rules and our neck's on the line. We got to keep our version of God happy, so we got to crack down on you. In religion, rules trump love for others. Rules trumps all things. And for that reason, religion is pathological. The danger is this: so long as it's working for the person, it's impossible or nearly impossible to get them to see this. They don't know what they don't know. If Bill didn't know that he didn't have real love, how would you get Bill to realize that? You don't know what you don't know. If you've never experienced the life and the transformation that comes from the kingdom, if all you've ever known is doing the behavior and getting the right beliefs, well then how do you wake a person up from that? Religionists are sincere. I think these Pharisees were sincere, and God honors that. But the scary thing about religion, and this is what we got to hear, the scary thing about religion, precisely because you don't know what you don't know, if the religion's working for you, it keeps you farther from the kingdom than the worst form of debauchery. Which is why Jesus said things like this: "Truly I tell you," he said it to the Pharisees, "the tax collectors and the prostitutes are entering the kingdom of God ahead of you." The tax collectors and the prostitutes are the two lowest forms of life in the Pharisees' worldview. But Jesus says they're going into the kingdom of God ahead of you. Why? Because these folks know that they got nothing going for them. These folks can only rely on the mercy of God. These folks aren't getting life from any kind of idolatry. It stopped working for them. People who are sick know they need a physician, and that's the advantage of knowing that you're sick. But what Jesus worries about are those who think they don't need a physician. They think they're okay. You're far worse off than the ones who look obviously sick, precisely because you are heavily invested in not looking sick. You use your sickness to keep up a facade of healthy appearances, and that keeps you farther from the kingdom than the tax collectors and the Pharisees. And that is why Jesus, I used to wonder, Jesus is love, right? He manifests love, but why does he speak so mean to these religious people? I mean, he calls them vipers. You vipers. You hypocrites, blind leaders of the blind. It's like, ooh, you're not very nice. And he wasn't nice. But that's because he was loving and he wants to reach these people. I think you got to hear Jesus saying those things with compassion in his eyes. You vipers, you hypocrites. He's trying to shock them into a completely different paradigm. He's trying to wake them up to the sickness that they're in the grips of. He's purposely going out of his way to offend them. Jesus could have healed this woman on some other day of the week, but he chose the Sabbath. Why? I think he wanted to tick the Pharisees and the Sadducees off because he loves them. And if you don't offend these people, there's no hope of them ever breaking out of the bondage of the religious system. And so Jesus, out of love, speaks very, very harshly to them. He was trying to get them to see, and trying to get any today who need to see it, that the kingdom is not a religion. The kingdom is not any religion. The kingdom is not even the Christian religion. The kingdom is opposed to religion. The kingdom is the opposite of religion. The kingdom is antithetical to religion. Religion is all about what you think you're doing for God. But the kingdom is centered on what God has done and is doing for you. The kingdom of God is it's antithetical, it's opposite. The kingdom of God is about trying to avoid being punished and winning the $10 million prize. Or the religion is about trying to avoid being punished and winning the $10 million prize. But see, the kingdom is about proclaiming the truth that the $10 million prize is actually a $20 trillion prize, and it's God himself. And you can't earn God, you can't achieve God, you can't merit God. But that's okay, because God has given you himself. He's given you the prize in Jesus Christ. And the kingdom of God is simply about trusting in that. You're not trying to achieve God. God has achieved you. He's given himself to you in Calvary. And religion is all based on trying to impress God with your behavior and your beliefs. But the kingdom of God is about how God impresses you and how God transforms